Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be making my predictions for game week 30 of the 25-26 championship season. We're in the homeward stretch now, but as always before we begin, let's see how I did last week. I got two outcomes correct. I got Bristol City beating Sheffield Wednesday 2-0 and Portsmouth and Southampton drawing 1-0 correct, plus 3 more outcomes correct, so that's 9 points, taking my season total up to 219. This is how the championship table looks after 29 matches, and without further ado, let's predict this weekend's matches. And we start with a big game tonight. It's Bristol City against Derby County, and Bristol City off the back of the 2-0 win against Sheffield Wednesday last week. Derby County off the back of a 1-1 draw, last minute draw against West Brom. They led for so long in that game, and then West Brom scored a last minute equaliser. I do tend to like John Eustace's Derby side, but they're against Bristol City at home, which I think is a trickier side to beat. I could see this game going either way, but given Bristol City are the home side, I'm going to back them. I'm going to back Bristol City for a 2-1 win. I think the Robins will get back to the 3 points, and I think they're currently 7th in the table. They're just outside the playoffs. I think another win could get them in there, and I think that'll happen here. 2-1 to the Robins. Next up, we've got Leicester City against Charlton Athletic in, well, a battle of two sides that aren't on the best run of form recently. But the big news is, of course, Leicester City have sacked Martin Cifuentes. That's the big story coming into this weekend. Charlton still have Nathan Jones, and their form hasn't been great at all recently, has it? They're down to, 19th in the league. I do feel like they're starting to look over their shoulders now at the relegation battle. It's at the King Power Stadium. I do like Leicester at home, but Charlton on their day, do not discount them. Charlton on their day can get results. I don't know. I think there might be a new manager bounce or a no manager bounce at some stage, but I'm going to back a draw. I'll go 1-1 on this one. I think a point wouldn't really help either side, but it's better than nothing. So a 1-1 draw and a point apiece. Next up, we've got Stoke City against Southampton, a battle of the S's. Okay, this is tricky. A tricky one to call. Stoke, they're on kind of up and down form at the minute. They don't tend to be, they don't tend to be that consistent with their results. Neither do we, to be honest. Southampton, off the back of the 1-1 draw against Portsmouth last week. I think Stoke were off the back of a draw themselves. The 1-1 draw against Birmingham. It's at the Bet365, and I think it dictates this. It's either Southampton score first and it ends in a draw, or Stoke score first and ride it out for the win. I think we're capable of getting a goal, but I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think Mark Roman's side isn't to be underestimated. I think that they beat us 1-0 earlier in the season, but I do think that it will be a draw here. 1-0 and a point apiece again. Next up, we've got Sheffield Wednesday against Wrexham. And it is at Hillsborough, but Sheffield Wednesday have really fallen off a cliff now, their form. They're bottom of the, 10-game form table. They're pretty much bottom of all form tables. And as for Wrexham, well, they did get a last-minute 3-2 win against QPR last game week. And they are up to 6th. They're actually in the playoff spots as it stands. I can't see Sheffield Wednesday winning this, or getting anything here. Wrexham they're pretty good defensively as well. They like to score goals, but they also like to keep clean sheets a lot. and I don't see Sheffield Wednesday scoring here. They could, if it's open, they could, but I'm backing Wrexham for a win, 3-0. I'm going fairly comfortable for the Welsh side. I think 3 points will obviously be enough to keep Wrexham in the playoffs and maybe even push further up the table. But 3-0 to Wrexham. Next up, we've got QPR against Coventry City. And this is an interesting one. Coventry off the back of a 2-1 loss to Norwich on Monday night. And QPR off the back of the last minute 3-2 defeat to Wrexham. This is a tricky one to call because neither side are on overly convincing form at the minute. But I just feel like I do trust Coventry more for a win than I do for QPR. It could be a draw, but I'm not sure I think QPR is on one of their bad runs of form again at the minute. I think Frank Lampard might just snatch the 3 points. I'll go Coventry to win 2-1. I think it's going to be close. And maybe a last minute winner for Coventry to stay top of the table for now. There's a 3 point gap between them and Middlesbrough now, but I am backing Coventry for 3 points and to stay top for another week. Next up, we've got Millwall against Sheffield United. And oh boy, this is another tricky one to predict. Millwall off the back of a 1-1 draw. No, it's not. They're off the back of a 4-0. That's right. They're off the back of a 4-0 beating of Charlton Athletic last week. They were 1-0 up for the vast majority of the game, and then in the final 10 minutes, in the final 10 minutes they scored a second, and then in injury time they scored another 2. It was a really crazy game. As for Sheffield United, Chris Wilder, their last defeat was, I think, just Southampton at St Mary's 2 game weeks ago. I do prefer Sheffield United at home this season, but I don't know, it's tricky. Millwall are currently 5th. They're in the playoffs and doing quite well. Sheffield United are, 16th? Well, no, they're actually a bit higher than that now. But they are chasing the playoffs. But I just look at Millwall. I think they've just got enough at home to win. I'm going to edge Millwall 2-1. I know Millwall rarely concede, it seems, but I do think Millwall might just snatch the 3 points over Chris Wilder's boys. 2-1 to Millwall to keep the playoff push. Next up, we've got Portsmouth against West Brom. And West Brom with the last minute 1-1 draw against Derby County. Portsmouth with a draw themselves, 1-1 against Southampton, of course, in the South Coast Derby. Was at the pub to watch that game, actually. It's at Fratton Park. In fact, why is it back to back to back? Home games for Portsmouth, we will predict them again later in the video, stay tuned for that. But it's tricky. I think the bookies amazingly predict West Brom to win this game. But I don't trust West Brom. I trust West Brom more at the Hawthorns than I do on the road this season. Portsmouth at Fratton Park have looked alright in the recent times. I am going to back Portsmouth for a 2-1 win. I think if Portsmouth start to get a run going, maybe they can, maybe even snatch mid-table. But 2-1 to Portsmouth. Next up, we've got Watford against Swansea City. And both these sides are off of fairly disappointing results last week. Watford with a 1-1 draw against Blackburn. Swansea with a 2-1 defeat to Hull. It's interesting, isn't it? Swansea have looked alright. I mean, Hull are a different source at the minute. They are flying. in the form table, but Swansea have looked alright, and Watford, their form's kind of tailed off a bit now, but they're still in a fairly good run of form, and they're at home. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I can't actually separate these two, but I do think that a point wouldn't be a terrible result for either in their aspirations for promotion and survival, but I'm going for a 1-1 draw. Next up, we've got Blackburn Rovers against Hull City. And it's literally just, like I said, Hull are flying in the table right now. They're sitting comfortably in 4th, and I still wouldn't rule them out of a top 2 push here. As for Blackburn, what are they, 22nd? They're still in the relegation zone, despite the draw against Watford last game week. It's a tricky one to call this. Well, not really. It is at Ewood Park, and I do like Blackburn. Maybe to get a goal or something at home. Hull like to score lots, but they do tend to concede. And Blackburn they're not great run of form, are they, at all? I've got to back the Tigers. I'm going Hull to win 2-1. No, it's boring, but I'm going for another 2-1 win for Hull. I just think Hull need to win to keep the pressure on the top 3. 2-1 to the Tigers. Next up, we've got Oxford United against Birmingham City. And Oxford off the back of a very impressive 2-1 win against Leicester last week. Of course, obviously, in the end, cost Marcus Cifuentes his job at Leicester City. And Birmingham with the 1-1 draw against Stoke. Matt Bloomfield, since he's come in at Oxford, it's actually, 1 win, 2 draws. 2 goalless draws, but 2 draws nonetheless, and 5 points since he's joined Oxford. They are at home here. They're against the Birmingham side who, with all due respect, have been, actually improving on the road in recent weeks. If I had to pick a winner, I may pick Oxford, given their run of form, but I could see Birmingham snatching a draw. Maybe Oxford go 1-0 up for a long time, and Birmingham, through one of their substitutes, maybe get a last-minute equaliser. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, which wouldn't be a terrible result for Oxford, or Birmingham. Wouldn't be great for either, really, but a 1-1 draw to push on for, so a point apiece. Next up, we've got maybe game of the week, certainly in terms of form. It's Middlesbrough against Norwich City. And this is a really interesting one. Norwich are currently 3rd in the form table, 10-game form table. They're still, I think, around 20th or 19th in the league table. As for Middlesbrough, they're 2nd in the table. They're just 3 points off of Coventry at the top. It's tricky, because Norwich at Carrow Road last week, they're off the back of the 2-1 win against Coventry on Monday. Middlesbrough, I think they won as well, didn't they? Middlesbrough won. They beat Preston 4-0. Another 4 goals going in from Middlesbrough last game week. I can see there being more goals here. I think it's going to be very tight, but I think Middlesbrough will just have enough quality to get it over the line at home. Sorry, Norwich, I know you're in good form, and I think back at Carrow Road you should get a result, but I'm going Borough to win 3-2. I think it's not going to be easy. It's going to be loads of goals, but I think Borough get the 3 points. 3-2 to Middlesbrough. And then we have got Ipswich Town against Preston North End. And Ipswich actually lost last week. Both these sides did. Preston, obviously, as I said just now, Preston lost 4-0 to Middlesbrough. Their form is not great at all at the minute under Paul Heckingbottom. And as for Ipswich, they did lose. They lost 3-1 to Sheffield United. It looked like 10-man Sheffield United as well. But Ipswich are currently joint top of the form table over the last 10 games, and, well, I mean, they are at home. And against Preston side, who I've seen recently struggling for goals, gotta go for a clean sheet win. The Tractor Boys to go back to winning ways. I'll go Ipswich to win 2-0. I think that should keep the pressure on the top two for the time being. 2-0 to Ipswich. And then we've got 4 catch-up games. We've got Blackburn Rovers against Sheffield Wednesday. This is midweek. And I just look at this game, and it is at Ewood, and despite Blackburn not being on a great run of form, I think they will go back to winning ways here. But I'll give Sheffield Wednesday a goal. I'm going Blackburn to win 2-1. Then we have got Hull City against Watford. And again, Hull are at home, but again, I've been saying it a lot of weeks recently, don't underestimate Watford. I'm actually, you know what, I'm going for a 1-1 draw on this one. I think a point wouldn't hamper either side in the playoff push. Next up, Sheffield United against Oxford United. Sheffield United are at home. Oxford have been impressive, and a pretty impressive run of form recently, but I think this is one step too far. There's Sheffield United 2-0. And then the final game is Portsmouth against Ipswich Town. And I still don't fully trust Ipswich on the road. I think they might drop points. And against the Portsmouth side, who have started to push into a slightly better rhythm, slightly better run of form. You know what, call me crazy, but I'm going for Portsmouth to go back-to-back wins, given I've predicted them to win against West Brom earlier in the video. Call me crazy. Portsmouth 2-1. Let's see if those come in. And there you have it, guys. All, 16 matches for, 12 this weekend, and then the 4 catch-up matches midweek next weekend, or next week. And we'll see how well I do in these predictions. Make sure to let me know your predictions in the comments down below. And I'll see you all in the next one.